Hi, I'm Megan, and today we're going to be doing some embossing that can be used for scrapbooking as well as the planner supplies that I'm going to be making. You can do it with any type of paper crafting, really. A lot of people like to do it for cards. Today we're going to be doing donuts in honor of National Donut Day, so hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun for you. Next, I'm going to go over the supplies that you need, and then we'll go through and I'll show you exactly how to go through and make your embossed project. Supplies involved in your project are going to include a heat gun, specifically a heat gun. You want to make sure that you do not attempt this with a hairdryer. I'll remind you again later on in the video. You need a watermark stamp pad. This is going to hold down your powder, so make sure that you purchase this. Not just any ink will do. You need embossing powder, available at craft stores everywhere, and Amazon if you enjoy that. You're going to need stamps. You can use stamps that already have backs, or if you choose to use some that do not, like I do, you will need to purchase something in order to stamp them. It's going to need to be plastic for things to cling properly. This is an acrylic stamp pad from Cocoa Daisy. You will need paper, and you cannot use regular weight paper unless you're okay with bleed through, so you're going to want a thicker paper. Again, you can purchase it most anywhere. Since we're doing this specifically for a planner dashboard, you're going to want something to make it a little bit more functional, possibly. What you can use are pockets. These are, again, from Rose Colored Days. This is from the Target Dollar Spot, a little bit more plain. You can also use your planner dashboard to put sticky notes, or you can just use it for list making. Something that we are specifically not going to use is a laminator. This is wax powder, and if you put it through a laminator, you will ruin all of your hard work. You're going to need something in order to hole punch, unless you use a traveler's notebook. And if you like rounded corners the way I do, you can either cut them yourself with scissors, or you can purchase a corner rounder. That should cover everything that you need, but if I missed anything, please let me know. Okay, so right now we're going to make a planner dashboard in honor of National Donut Day, and we are going to use embossing powder so that it's something that's a little bit different from what you normally see. We have stamps, which were purchased at Michael's. Because these stamps do not come with their own stamp pad, I'm using my Cocoa Daisy stamp pad. You can peel them off and replace them on their backing paper when you're done. Just make sure you don't get rid of it. Another important part to using the embossing powder is a watermark stamp pad. This is actually like glue for your embossing powder, and it will stick it down onto your paper. And just so that we're clear, you cannot use a hair dryer to melt your embossing powder. You do need a gun for that. A hair dryer will make it all go away, and you'll have to start again. We're going to be using standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. It's a slightly thicker paper though. If you use your regular printer paper, there is a chance that it will bleed through. This is a wax, so when it melts, it can leave an oily residue on the back. If you use this size paper, you can actually manage to get 3 different personal size dashboards out of it. And this sheet we're actually going to keep here because the way that you utilize the powder is that you're going to sprinkle it over top. Once you've done that, you'll shake it down onto this and use this paper to dump it back into the container. You only ever want to use one color at a time unless you're fine with wasting the powder itself. So we have powder ordered off of Amazon, and we also have some that was purchased at Michael's and some that was purchased at Paper Source. So let's begin. You can use any size planner with this, obviously. I use a personal size. So we take our paper that is cut to size, lay it on your larger piece. They also make little trays that you can use for this, but it just seems like a waste of money when you can just tilt your paper and funnel it back. And today we're going to be matching to the Rose Colored Days sticky pockets. We're going to have a functional dashboard. So to start with, these particular stamps, you can do one color for your donut and another color for your sprinkles. And if you're really bold, you can do a third color with some icing. So we'll start with this. You're going to place the flat side onto the back and push it down. This also works with regular stamps. You'll take your watermark pad, get your stamp wet, and this is completely clear. So if you have any worries about where things are going to go, you may want to go ahead and mark them ahead of time. As long as you're using a darker color of your powder, it will cover things for you. So we hold this down, lift, and let's make our donut purple. It doesn't matter if you accidentally tip too much down here. Any excess will get dumped back, so there's no worry about waste. You'll tap your excess away. And the beauty of using this is that if you get some stuck, you can dust it off. And you don't want to use your heat gun before you've gotten rid of the excess powder. Otherwise, you will have wasted it on accident. You do need to dry each layer. And the heat gun is not going to be effective at first. You're going to turn it on, and you're going to watch for it to heat in the middle here to a red color. So you can see that. And you can visually watch as your wax gets melted. Turn your gun off. Each ensuing layer is going to be quicker because the gun's preheated. So you can see where the wax has become shiny. So we'll remove our stamp. And let's do some blue icing. So again, we place that down on our stamp pad. It's better if you lift this to your stamp so that you don't get it where you don't need it. Lay that back down. Again, this is clear, so you have to just make sure that you don't make a mistake while you're working on it. So we've put down our next layer. Again, lay it over top of your paper. Otherwise, you're going to have some issues. Let's go blue here. If you're worried that you didn't get it everywhere, you can shake the excess. Tap it off. Tilt back into your container. Move everything out of the way so that you don't accidentally heat the entire container of wax. And let's get rid of any excess that we have over here. Heat gun. And again, you can see where it became shiny. Now, most of the embossing powders, when they're heated, they have a metallic effect. They'll be listed if they're matte. This one is pink tinsel, and it looks gorgeous in the container, but once heated, it looks almost like a sand because of the glitter. So let's go ahead and I'll show you that by adding some sprinkles to our donut. So again, we put away the stamp that we're not using. The flat side goes onto this. You can tap it down. And just because it's clear doesn't mean you have to press hard. If you do that, you are likely to accidentally get things on other parts of your stamp, and you will get the glue where you don't want it. So we press down. It's fine if it goes over top of another layer of wax. So, just forgot the golden rule of put it over top of your larger piece of paper. Luckily remembered in time. So you can see how gorgeous that looks, but that's all going to change very quickly. And the pink actually doesn't adhere as well, again because of the glitter. It makes things a little bit more difficult. And you can see that the glitter actually sticks to our paper as well. So let's move that out of the way. We heat things, and it's harder to tell that you've actually gotten things finished. Looks like I scraped my nail through that because of the glitter again. But if you run your finger over it, the texture is very rough. So we're just going to go ahead and add in sprinkled dots as well. And we'll use a different powder for that. Again in pink though. Just continue our galaxy theme. Press. Backing paper. And you can see that this looks much less impressive. Very bland. Let's tap our excess. It sticks much better though. So we'll set that off to the side. And again, with the heat gun, like I said, you can do multiple layers. The more layers you do, the messier, and it's probably better to do darker layers on top. So we've got our messy donut here. And then let's see if we have a phrase that we'd like to use. Probably everything is better with sprinkles. It's absolutely true. So that's going to be right here. And you don't have to worry about being too rough with these. They're extremely thick. So we'll lay this down. Make sure you've got everything right side up. And remember that this is reversed. And if you want to keep your phrasing completely straight, you're going to need to be very careful. So, let's take this. And lay it down here. The pink didn't get a very good showing with the donut, so let's go ahead and use it again. You can see where some pieces of this are actually darker if you zoom in. It may be because this was an extremely cheap set, but it did come with quite a few colors. So let's wipe off our excess here. You can even blow on it. After you've gotten everything dried off, if you've just got a little bit of color stuck, which the pink does tend to do, you can take a paintbrush and dust it away. For now, we'll take care of that. And let's take a paintbrush. And you can see that the pigment just dusts off. But you don't wind up with a perfectly flat surface. You can see where it's got some texture. So we'll just go ahead and add a bottom piece on. Obviously you can go as far as you want with this and cover your paper completely. That is completely up to you. But we're just going to do the minimum here, just as an example. So you can see where this stamp is longer than the pad. What you can do is drag it across. Makes things a little bit easier. And then we'll lay it down on our paper and press. Take our main piece of paper, because we don't want to lose any. And let's just shake away some wax here. If you don't have fingernails to dust off your excess, again, you can take a paintbrush. Small ones work best. And before you go through and dry things off, you can dust it. You just have to be careful not to do that and get rid of the pigment right on where you want it. So let's dry this. Make sure that you cover up your watermark stamp pad. They do sell extra liquid that you can just squeeze on here so that you don't have to buy new stamp pads every time. And if you don't have a hole punch specifically for your size of planner, I don't know how many people actually make their own inserts, you can actually do a single hole punch. If you measure things off of your inserts that you already have, you'll just make marks in the circles so that you know exactly where to punch. I also like to use a corner rounder. This one I picked up at Hobby Lobby. I think it was $2.99 maybe. So it's not too expensive if you want to round your corners. Again, we've got some pigment excess. I'm just going to be lazy and use my shirt to get rid of it. So that is how you utilize your embossing powder. And if you want to use your dashboard to be more functional, you can put pockets on the back. This is a very pretty one from Rose Colored Days. She does the $2 Tuesday. I think this was actually sold on a Wednesday though. She has larger pockets for your larger planner sizes. You also have the option of using the Target Dollar Spot ones. They're just plain clear pockets. Not as visually interesting, but you know, really depends on your preference. You can also decorate the back with washi tape. One thing that you do want to note is that after you finish this, you will not want to put it through a laminator. You will wind up with issues. It's kind of like putting a candle through your oven. It's going to melt. So don't ruin all your hard work and laminate, but feel free to decorate as you wish. Remember, this is going to be a more fragile version of a planner dashboard. And you can actually utilize this with quite a few crafts. Just make sure that it's not something that you leave out in the heat. We have 2 more so that we can, try again. Always a good idea. And you've actually used very little of your supplies in order to do this in the first place. So it's not a super expensive hobby once you've picked up your primary pieces. I believe this was $16. Again, from Paper Source. They carry them at Michael's though. I got this and some embossing powders in a bundle, so I couldn't tell you how much that cost. But again, this is something you're only going to need to purchase once, and your embossing powders are going to take you a very long way. This is just as full looking as when I first purchased it, and I've used it quite a bit. But if you have any questions, feel free to comment, and I will post better pictures of a more attractive version of this. And I would love to see anything that anyone creates based on the tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.